Hey guys, what's going on? Thanks for coming back and checking out the channel. Today is going to be a little bit of a different kind of video than we've done in the past. Today's actually going to be a planning video of a little project that I've been thinking about for a long time, and I'm actually finally going to take some steps to execute. So as you saw in one of my previous videos when I was talking about my boat affectionately named the Ditch Pickle, one of the biggest issues that I've had with the boat has been its small and very limited floor plan, with it being a 1648 Mod V boat with a side console. The problem with the side console, even though it makes steering really easy, is on a boat with a really limited floor plan with very little floor space, is it just is continuously in the way. The number of functions that it serves per unit space that it takes up is kind of lousy. And there's some features associated with it that I genuinely thought I'd use a lot more than I did, namely the livewell. I thought that I'd be using it a lot more than I am, and after a season of use, it's pretty clear to me that it's not going to be that useful. I think I'd rather do something a lot more modular for a live well, i.e. if I'm planning on catching and eating, I'd probably just use a stringer or like a converted cooler live well. I think that's a much better option. Whereas most of my trips, a live well is completely useless. I'm actually mostly using it as like a kind of repurposed dry storage box. And so in order to do that, in order to eliminate the console, I have to be able to redo all of the functions that it provides. And the easiest way to do that on my boat would be to convert the boat to a tiller handle boat, which fortunately with my motor is very easy. The boat has either a 2018 or 2019 Mercury 50 horse motor, and converting it into a tiller is really easy. In fact, the best way to go is using what they call their Big Tiller kit. And basically it's just a bigger, heavier duty control arm that should be a lot more adjustable and serve the purpose of a tiller a lot better than a standard one, with a lot better steering, a lot more comfortable, a lot easier to use. And it's just a great all-in-one way to go to open up the floor plan, which will eliminate the need for obviously any sort of steering controls. The tilt, trim, and throttle is all going to be on a tiller handle that I can just fold up and out of the way when I'm not running the boat. So basically the purpose of this video is to just chronicle kind of the early planning stages of this. I'm going to link some of the items I'm going to need down below. I've never seen a video of someone doing a big tiller conversion, in either installing the kit or doing this sort of conversion on a small boat. So I'm going to chronicle every step and kind of bring you guys along for my little misadventure here. So step one is obviously going to be installing the tiller handle itself. Step two is going to be removing the console. But when I remove the console, the things that I've attached to the console have to move as well. Namely, my Garmin Echo Map that I have mounted to the console, the networking box that's concealed underneath the console, and some of the switching functionality. Moving the Garmin is going to be fairly easy. I'm just going to put it on a ram mount on one of the accessory tracks on the boat and call it a day. That's going to be fairly easy. I think right now I'm going to move the networking box all the way to the back under the homemade deck that I made. As a side quest on this whole thing, I may redo that deck into an aluminum deck just to save some weight and make it a little more corrosion resistant. I threw the deck together over the winter when I was just bored. It was an idea that I had to kind of provide myself a little more deck space, or a little more standing, more of a casting deck in the back. And it actually worked really well, but I kind of want to go back and do it in aluminum. It'll just be lighter, and you don't want a ton of weight in the back of the boat where you can help it. So anyway, so I think I'm going to move the networking box underneath there. The other thing that I'm going to have to suss out is there's basically 4 switches on that console that I'll need to figure out. One of them is for the pump for the live well, so that's going to go away altogether. Another one of the switch functionalities is the bilge pump. I can remedy that by swapping out my bilge for a bilge pump with an automatic switch that'll just automatically kick on and off if water gets in the boat. I feel like that's a fairly safe way to do it, and then it's also an automatic thing that I won't need to think about. It'll just kick on if there's too much water in there and then automatically kick off. I just have to periodically go back there and test it and make sure the switch is working, because obviously a bilge should be a pretty important piece of hardware. So that eliminates 2 of the switches, and then the other 2 are basically the 2 light switches, so basically the nighttime running lights and then the anchor light. I think what I'll probably do there is I'll put a waterproof switch at the front and at the back so that I can just individually switch each light on and off as is appropriate, as opposed to having some kind of like a centralized control for it. Because I don't know exactly where I would put a switch panel. Now, that may change between now and actual execution, but like I said, I think that's going to be the easiest, least invasive way to add that switching capability. The other thing that I might think about is where to put a 12-volt accessory plug. My console has one. I haven't used it a ton. I mostly use it for like charging phones and stuff like that, but there may be better ways to do that on my boat. So really, to me, I kind of feel like that's the least of my concerns. So that takes care of basically the console and all the electronics. The other thing that I'm going to have to do is with the removal of the console, from installing my network box, I noticed that underneath the live well, there's basically a section of floor that's just gone. So I'll have to fill that hole in. The easy thing to do would be to just take a piece of 1/4-inch aluminum, put it on top, rivet it down, and then use some sealant along the edge to, one, waterproof it, and two, eliminate like a rough edge. I may still do that. The harder thing to do would be to put some like 1.5-inch aluminum angle to the floor and then drop the plate on top and rivet the plate to that so it's actually like completely flush. It would make for a cleaner install. It'd look nicer. I think I'll ultimately go that route. We'll see how in depth I really feel like going, because obviously just cutting the plate and layering it on top and riveting it down would be way easier. So I guess I just don't know how much it matters. I'm sure it'll drive me less nuts if I actually just like do it right and have it completely flush. So I guess to recap, there's going to be a couple videos coming down the pipeline. I'm going to break it up into various videos of each step. Step 1, install the tiller. Step 2, remove the console, fill the floor, the plug in the floor, or the hole in the floor that's going to be there. Step 3 is going to be redoing all the electronics and moving some of the associated accessories around. And then, the other thing too, associated with the live well, that I forgot to mention, there's 2 pieces of tubing that run for the live well. One is a filler port that runs from the live well pump, which I'll be able to omit, and a drain plug for the live well, so you can just dump the water out of it. The fill plug is a bulkhead style connector in the transom that should be fairly easy to plug. I'll just find the right plastic threaded insert for that, seal it up, thread it in, done. The other drain port just looks like a rubber grommet, so I may have to convert that into a bulkhead connector and then plug that. One way or another, I got to seal up both. I can't have just big gaping holes in my transom. It's no good. So I'll have to plug both of those up. So to recap, step 1 is I'm actually just going to have to install the tiller arm and make sure everything functions and it replaces the console completely. Step 2 is going to be to remove the console. Step 3 is going to basically be to plug up and remove all associated hardware having to do with the live well. Step 4 is going to be to rehome all the electronics that the console originally housed. And the last step is just going to be basically to rewire the lights front and rear. And that should do it. So by the end of that, I should have this nice open floor plan boat with a very easy to use tiller handle, which for my little riverboat, honestly, is probably going to be better. And then this thing should be running like brand new, and I should have a ton more space, and life should just be a lot easier. I guess for a bonus round, if I was going to add an extra bonus video, I may redo that rear deck, which should be fairly easy. I just buy a little extra 1/4-inch aluminum plate that I'm going to need to fill in that plug in the floor, buy some extra plate, and get some 3/4-inch square tube, because whatever, the deck has to be basically exactly 1 inch high to fill that area well, and then just create a new deck attached to the existing hinge, and it's done. It should be easy. And then I'll run it like that this season. The one thing that I'm going to have to give up, at least for a little while, is rod storage. I had that horizontal, or I should say vertical rod storage associated with the console, and it's fine. It works, but it gets in the way an awful lot. At least for a little while, what I may do is just lay rods down on the deck of the boat, get maybe some like boat buckles or something like that so that I can at least strap them down a little bit. And then I think ultimately what I want to do is I want to do proper rod lockers. Like I've been watching a lot of other guys that have done some really clever small boat rod lockers. I may follow in their footsteps, redo the front cargo area, or at least my front tackle storage, and then add a rod locker on both sides. That way I can have at least some horizontal rod storage, which would be super convenient. I've measured it out, and based on how I would do the rod storage, I could fit up to an 8-foot rod, which is perfect. Even the longer rods that I think I would want to get, so like some of the longer musky rods that I'm looking at, they're telescoping down to 8 foot, so they would fit and it'd be fine. And most of my rods are under 8 foot, so it'd be no problem. So anyway, thanks for listening to me rant. This video is primarily for me to just get my thoughts together, make sure I have like a complete list of parts and everything I need to order so that I can, try to do this, step by step, and also make sure I'm not forgetting anything as I am prone to do. So thanks for tuning in, thanks for subscribing, and keep looking into the channel for new videos coming down the pipeline as this project starts to unfold. Might even do some unboxings and stuff like that, because like I said, on this Big Tiller accessory, this Big Tiller component, a lot of the videos I found are very old, and I didn't really give me a good hard look at this gear the way I really wanted to look at it. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next video.